Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg will testify before the Republican-led House Judiciary Committee in connection to former President Trump's criminal hush money trial and conviction. Bragg responded to a request from Trump ally and Judiciary Committee Chairman Congressman Jim Jordan on Friday, saying he's willing to testify, but not before Trump's sentencing date, which is scheduled for next month. Jordan had originally requested a hearing this week. Bragg's response counters that date, saying court proceedings are not over in the case. The DA's letter also asked to speak to the committee about the, quote, scope of the proposed testimony. Meanwhile, former President Trump is scheduled to sit down for a virtual interview later today with a New York City probation officer. That's according to three sources familiar with the matter. It's part of a mandatory step ahead of his July 11th sentencing, following Trump's conviction last month on 34 felony counts in his hush money trial. Trump will reportedly call in for the interview from Mar-a-Lago with his lead attorney Todd Blanche by his side. Once the process is finished, the probation officer will deliver a report to Judge Merchan, who will use it when determining Trump's sentence next month. Interesting. One of the things they always keep in mind is whether or not a convicted criminal has remorse. Joining us now, former litigator and MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin, and former U.S. attorney and an MSNBC contributor Barbara McQuade. She's the author of the book, Attack from Within: How Disinformation is Sabotaging America. Also with us is special correspondent at Vanity Fair and the host of the Fast Politics podcast, Molly Jong-Fast. She's an MSNBC political analyst, and we'll get to her powerful piece about the Hunter Biden trial in just a moment. Lisa, with all your time in the courtroom, I want to start with you about this hearing today. Is this as simple as every American who's convicted of a felony, a convicted felon, I guess, ultimately on sentencing day, have to go through a meeting like what President Trump is going through today? Can you lay it out for us? And do you think that he will express remorse, and would that matter to the judge?
Well, let's start, Mika, at the back half. Will he express remorse? I think the answer has to be no. This is a person who continues to say that the trial was rigged, that the judge is corrupt, and that there was no crime, including that there was no crime even specified by the DA. You and I know that not to be true. So I don't expect to hear any statement of contrition or remorse from former President Trump. And that is a factor that will go into this pre-sentence investigation report by the New York City Department of Corrections and Probation. That having been said, this is a process that all criminal defendants go through prior to their sentencing. Donald Trump is no exception. What makes this unusual is that the interview is happening virtually, but the regulations here provide for virtual interviews and circumstances like this, where, for example, courtesy to the court and all of the precautions that would need to be taken for him to come and visit the Department of Probations, all of those things would really be unnecessary and costly for New York City, which has already incurred the cost of this trial. That's why the interview is happening virtually. It's also unusual for an attorney to be present, but as you know, Judge Merchan gave Todd Blanche his express permission to be present with former President Trump at Mar-a-Lago when the interview is held later today.
So, Lisa, let's get you in on a sort of an odd development that happened during the case. On Friday, the judge, Merchan, sent a letter to both parties in the trial alerting them to a Facebook post that had been made at the end of May, allegedly says, I'll read it, "My cousin is a juror," and says Trump is getting convicted. Thank you, folks, for all your hard work. Now, that post has since been deleted. We should also note that NBC News has not identified the poster or the validity of the claim. So we don't even know if this is really, if it's real. But that has not stopped the Trump and his allies from seizing upon it, suggesting the fix was in, it wasn't a fair trial, they'll be part of their appeal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So walk us through, what do we know about this, and could it actually have any kind of impact?
So let's start with, could it have any impact? If it were real, there are provisions where you can move to set aside the verdict under New York law. The only remedy for that, where conduct or juror misconduct is concerned, is to have a new trial. And what you have to show is that the juror misconduct or communications would have had a substantial impact, or even could have had a substantial impact on the outcome of the trial. But let's move backward from there for a second, Jonathan, to what we actually know about this situation. There's no question in my mind that Judge Merchan made this information publicly available because he knew that once he notified the parties, if he didn't control that public access, somebody else was going to. Based on screenshots that were taken of this poster's comments, and I should note, they made this comment more than once, it seems dubious that this person is related to a juror, much less that the person is really having any information related to the jury at all. In fact, the person's bio says that they are a professional expletive poster, that they take a lot of joy in trying to mix things up online, so to speak. That hasn't stopped the Trump campaign from shouting mistrial, as former President Trump did on one of his Truth Social posts. Do I expect that they will try and delay proceedings by demanding an investigation into who this person is and whether any of the jurors had conduct with this person? Absolutely. Do I expect that it will succeed? Absolutely not. And that's why I said on Friday, when this information became available, if this person actually knows a juror, this is unbelievably bad. If this person is just trying to create mischief, that's even worse, because they will have succeeded in derailing some of these proceedings without knowing anything at all, without having any legitimate impact on the process, and just trying to throw a bomb, metaphorically, into the process that has to continue and play out.